I've got a big update for you guys on the Chud situation, and I don't think you're going to like this one because a lot of people have been digging into the case, into the law, into the whole circumstances surrounding the situation. As much as we dislike Chud, we think he's racist, he's been out here provoking people, he might beat this thing, and he might actually be in the right. So I've got some very interesting stuff and some points to show you in this video. And this isn't me defending Chud. This is me just looking at some of the information that people are putting out there and saying, you know what? This could be a little bit more complicated than we thought. So this is his full arrest warrant. Okay. And there's been some interesting points that have been pointed out on this. And some people believe that this actually might exonerate him, okay? So this basically says, on May the 13th, 2026, at approximately 1:19 p.m., Dalton Etherly and Joshua Fox engaged in a verbal altercation in front of the Montgomery courthouse. During the verbal altercation, Mr. Etherly turned his body into a bladed stance towards Mr. Fox and reached for a firearm located in his right jacket pocket. Thereafter, a physical altercation ensued. Mr. Etherly discharged his firearm, striking Fox multiple times, and as a result of being shot, Mr. Fox was life-flighted to Vanderbilt Hospital and underwent emergency surgery. In addition, at the time the shots were fired, there were several innocent bystanders in the area, and surveillance video of the incident shows a ricocheting projectile hitting nearby walls. So this says Mr. Etherly employed a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony, to wit, criminal attempt murder 1. Okay, they're saying that this is attempted murder. He was attempting to murder Joshua Fox. But there are people on X, some controversial people, saying that this very text right here completely exonerates him. Okay, so this is being posted around. They said, what a great day for Dalton Etherly. TLDR, the state's case against Etherly appears to be utterly lacking in any legal merit whatsoever, based on what appears to be the official affidavit of complaint that was just made public. So was that this? This is exactly what we just saw. So this is a long breakdown, but basically, okay, Andrew Branca, all right, an attorney, pro-America, pro-Constitution, so maybe slightly right-leaning attorney, he doesn't believe that they're going to be able to take Chud down. So it says, this is a case in which the state's burden of proof is guilt and disproof of self-defense beyond any reasonable doubt. Okay? All of it. So it appears that the affidavit of complaint against Dalton Chud the Builder, Etherly, has been made public, and the contents will absolutely shock many of you. First shocker, there's not a single word about Dalton having uttered any racial slur towards Joshua Fox whatsoever, so as to have provoked the fight and thus to have lost any legal justification of self-defense. Not one word. That was Dalton's biggest potential vulnerability on self-defense, and we can now be confident that we put that concern to rest. Here's what's interesting. We know this guy likes to go around calling black people the N-word. It's reprehensible. We don't like it. But if he didn't do that on this day, it might be self-defense. You can't charge him with inciting the racial hatred and inciting the situation based on times that he did that other times. It's disgusting, it's reprehensible, and he seems to have done it a lot of times on stream, but we don't know for sure if he even did it in this situation. But it says, but it gets even better for Dalton. Second shocker, even if self-defense is not even considered, the affidavit of complaint fails to present any evidence-based narrative that Dalton has committed any crime whatsoever. But of course, self-defense will be raised, but only further buttressing Dalton's legal position. Specifically, there's not a single word, literally, in this affidavit that describes any criminal conduct whatever. I've embedded the affidavit in my position, but for the purposes of succinctness, the relevant portion reads, Dalton Etherly and Joshua Fox engaged in a verbal altercation in front of the Montgomery County Courthouse. This isn't a crime, unless it's merely the misdemeanor of disorderly conduct, which would apply equally to both Etherly and Fox, and in any case, Etherly has not been charged with disorderly conduct, nor Fox. During this verbal altercation, Mr. Etherly turned his body in a bladed stance towards Mr. Fox. There's nothing unlawful about taking a defensive stance when dealing with an angry antagonist. Certainly, Etherly is not charged with the crime of taking a bladed stance. That's a good point. And it says, and he reached for his firearm located in his right jacket pocket. Again, there's nothing unlawful about reaching for a firearm in one's pocket in preparation for possible necessary self-defense. Note that Etherly is not charged with the crime of reaching for a firearm located in his right jacket pocket. Thereafter, a physical altercation ensued. Note the passive voice. The altercation ensued. There's no claim that Etherly initiated the altercation. Indeed, if anything, to the extent of the affidavit has detailed Etherly's conduct, the absence of any representation of his conduct to indicate that it was Etherly who initiated the altercation, we can only infer that it was instead Fox who initiated the altercation. This would, of course, make Etherly the victim of Fox's unlawful attack upon him. The next paragraph, Mr. Etherly discharged his firearm, striking Mr. Fox multiple times. There's nothing inherently unlawful about discharging a firearm and shooting someone multiple times. Thousands of shootings that fit this description occur every year and qualify as perfectly lawful self-defense. Of course, now self-defense needs to actually be put on the table. Then there's the discussion of Fox being flown to the hospital, followed by, in addition, at the time the shots were fired, there were several innocent bystanders in the area. Surveillance video of the incident shows a ricocheting projectile hitting nearby walls. Again, there's nothing inherently unlawful about firing shots that miss the intended target. Police involved in lawful shootings of suspects routinely miss 70% of the shots fired. These shots also go flying about the neighborhood until they hit something. None of that is a crime, absent evidence of recklessness, and the affidavit provides no statement of recklessness, indeed not a word of recklessness. Note that if the shots were fired in lawful self-defense as a matter of law, they were not fired recklessly. I would also note that there's not a word in this affidavit that even contests, much less contradicts, even a single legal element of Dalton's anticipated claim of self-defense. Not innocence, not imminence, not proportionality, not avoidance, not reasonableness, not a single element, not a word of it. If this were a civil case, I would argue the complaint fails to state a cause of action. Indeed, it's hard to recall the last time I saw an affidavit of complaint utterly lacking in legal substance whatsoever. So at this point, I have to say that I've never felt more positive about Dalton Etherly's claim of self-defense, at least based upon the representations of this apparently official affidavit of complaint. If these facts provided in this affidavit of complaint are all the state of Tennessee has on which to prosecute Dalton on the attempted murder, aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, and malicious firearms possession charges brought against him, I simply don't see any prospect to a reasonable degree of legal certainty of prosecutors securing a conviction on any of these charges beyond a reasonable doubt of legal merits. Okay, interesting. And he's got a book he wants you to buy. So others, however, have interpreted this same text the opposite way. And this is what trials are all about, people. Okay, so this one, all right, this is the Paranormal Chris. He says, breaking arrest warrant affidavit for Dalton Etherly, aka Chud the Builder, states that Dalton reached for his firearm located in his right jacket pocket during a verbal altercation. After turning his body in a bladed stance towards Mr. Fox, a physical altercation ensued after. Okay, so is it illegal? Is that a bladed stance? There's a bladed stance, all right? Don't arrest me from a bladed stance. I'm not on his side, but you know what I'm saying? What is a bladed stance? Can I pop anyone that pulls a bladed stance? Are you going to arrest anyone that pulls up with a bladed stance in front of me? It says, apparently there were several innocent bystanders in the area. Footage of things ricocheting. He said he obtained the warrant for a request to the county clerk's office. As far as I know, this is the first time anyone's actually seeing it with the actual description of what occurred during the incident. Okay, so initial rumors had circulated, basically suggesting that Chud was being targeted by somebody. And, you know, it says the black guy that shot Chud was actually hunting him down. Okay, this says we're getting closer. Oh, my God, it sucks. Hang on, let me see if I can zoom into this. Okay. So this says Chud the Builder fears for his life and calls the police, surrounded by several black people at the gas station. Somebody said, can you blast these N-words already? I'm probably going to have to cover this all up. Someone said, he's near my city. Should I do it? And someone said, here's his address. And that's apparently his address. Probably going to have to blur all of this and that. Probably got to blur. I got to blur all of this junk. Hang on. So this is someone called OGIC. I think there's been some suggestion that this might have been the man that was shot, but I thought that was actually debunked. Yeah, it was debunked, okay? But people were basically saying that that was the guy trying to hunt Chud down, posting his address. But this was completely debunked. Apparently that's the wrong individual. This says this has been debunked by going to his IG, and you can see the tattoos actually don't match. That's the victim, Josh Fox, and that's OGIC, who was allegedly hunting Chud, okay? So basically, people have been digging through Chud's alleged victim, Joshua Fox's social media to try and support the idea that Chud is actually innocent. So this is kind of more X-analysis, okay? This is somebody is basically trying to... Take this with a pinch of salt. This guy's running Operation Free Dalton, okay? And he's apparently trying to help Dan Bilzerian run for Congress. But anyway, here we go. He says, evidence exonerating Chud the Builder has been discovered by a friend or family. This is screenshots showing premeditation by Joshua Love to fight Dalton to launch his Twitch streaming career. Joshua Fox, or Joshua Love, made Facebook comments on January the 10th, 2026, 18 weeks before the incident. Direct quotes from Fox's own accounts in a thread with users Kudo Menace and Bishop Remo Yeezy. Fox said, I've been hoping to run into that Chud MF, but he don't be on this side of town. But outside of him, I'ma call them a bitch and go about my day. Kudo Menace responded saying, Chud is just trolling us for reaction. Don't let him bother you either. I don't think he's really racist anyway, just clickbait. And then Fox says, trying to get some traction on my end, so when I start my Twitch, I got a little fan base. Fox said, oh, he don't bother me. I just want to fight. Uh-oh, that's not going to help the defense. Bishop Remo Yeezy said, on the internet, correct, in person, neutralizing the threat, followed by a no problem meme image. What this establishes, Fox publicly stated his intent to physically seek out the Chud months before the incident. Even his own friend characterized the target as just clickbait and not really racist. Fox's stated motivation was Twitch traction and a fan base, not response to any actual harm. Fox explicitly said, I just want to fight. This is documented premeditation. The encounter at the Montgomery courthouse was not a chance escalation. It was the outcome that Fox had been openly telling people he wanted. Yeah, that's not great. That's not great news for his for the state's case. Okay, that's not a great look. But on the other hand, some people are saying, well, Chud has made some incriminating social media posts before too. It says, it's funny how they keep ignoring the countless times he was saying he would inevitably shoot a black person dead and walk free. Clear premeditation. So this says, Dalton's been pretty open about his desire to shoot a black person dead on stream. It says, the day one of you gets shot and killed for threatening my life is the day the white man takes this country back. And they also said, series finale is dead, C-word on the pavement, and you M-words rioting when I walk free. Stay tuned. And he said, the day one of you N-words make me take your life is the day the white man takes this country back. See you around. He said, I could have shot and killed this C-word last night, but I chose to spare him. And he said, when I inevitably shoot one of you A-words for threatening Americans' life for solely exercising his constitutional freedoms, you people love seeing each other die. Stay tuned. And it says, Dalton's got priors too. I doubt the judge or jury is going to go so easy on him. So look, some people are really convinced he's going to beat this, and I do feel like there's some evidence that works in his favor, but then there's also a bunch of evidence that works against him. So I feel like this is really a coin flip right now at this stage, all right? Do I want to see Dalton go down? Kind of do, but also, if it turns out that he hadn't really done that much to antagonize this guy in that moment, it's all well and good. Yeah, maybe you've seen this guy be racist on the internet, but he out here walking around trying to antagonize people and catch a free body. You can't give him the satisfaction. So on the one hand, I do think he sucks, and I would like to see him removed from society for his horrible racist actions. But at the same time, if it turns out he was genuinely defending himself in that self-contained incident, you know, the law needs to apply equally to everybody, whether or not they're a racist piece of dirt or an honest stand-up man. So it is really scary to see how this is devolving. But anyway, when I got some updates, I will be back with more information about Chud. Go and watch the videos I've been doing today about Aunt Hefe. I also did a Dirk update. We grinding, okay? I'm putting out a lot of content for you guys today. Hopefully you find some of it useful. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.